At no point in human history has there been a more complementary relationship between technology and the activity of everyday life. Since the advent of the smartphone, mobile devices have assumed responsibility for administering our schedules, monitoring our bodily health, and communicating with our surroundings to ensure a life of ease and efficiency. Without hesitation, we embrace these inventions with the understanding that technology has a positive impact on our lives. Why then, when it comes to governance and democratic participation, is that common acceptance shed in favor of an outdated system? As election deadlines loom, the citizens of Ontario are tasked with a civic responsibility that often feels more of an inconvenience than an honor. We may feel unheard or underrepresented by the incumbent party. We must sift through mounds of complicated information disseminated by the media to decide on a candidate. We then go to the polls the old-fashioned way, by physically traveling to a voting station, taking time off of work or out of our busy lives, where we wait in line to cast a vote with pen and paper. There must be a better way. My Visionaries proposal is to enhance and modernize democratic participation through a mobile-based application that focuses on 3 areas. Data collection, dissemination of information, and electronic voting. This app is known as Pollination. Our current methods of data collection, be it the long-form census or sample-based polling, are dependable but flawed. The long-form census offers the most complete picture of Canada's economic, social, and political paradigm, but is exceptionally expensive, costing upwards of $650 million, relies heavily on human power, and is conducted infrequently. Sample-based polling is less expensive and may be used with greater frequency, but it is potentially less accurate because of the need to extrapolate data and the possibility of sampling errors. With the efficiency and reach that a mobile application affords, Pollination embraces the best of both features, the best of both methods while shedding the intrinsic flaws. A mobile application is relatively inexpensive to operate, can be administered often and with ease, and ideally achieves a response rate much higher than conventional polling. Data dissemination in its current state is a responsibility most often taken on by the news media. Between political narratives and the sheer volume of information, it can be difficult to interpret or even stay on top of current events. Conversely, objective bodies like Statistics Canada may collect and distribute analyses on the Canadian political paradigm, but fail to distill the information into a digestible language. By harnessing the availability of the internet and the ability to fact-check instantaneously, Pollination would be able to deliver the data back to the Canadian public while remaining truthful and transparent. Finally, there are the issues with our conventional methods of voting, inconvenience and expense. According to Statistics Canada, the most common reason for not voting among people aged 65 and older was an illness or disability that prevented them from doing so. In people aged 18 to 35, the second most popular reason was that they were too busy. These obstructions, in part, result from the inaccessibility and inefficiency of centralized voting. Traveling in inclement weather, long lines, and busy schedules deter voters from all demographics. A decentralized polling station, such as one offered by a mobile application, effectively reduces the burden of travel and increases the ease of casting a ballot. The 2014 provincial election was projected to cost upwards of $90 million. Elections Canada estimates that the 2015 federal election cost $443 million. With the government subsidizing up to 60% of that amount, the taxpayer is on the hook for a not-so-insignificant sum of money. Mobile voting would see public and private expenses reduced by culling physical voting materials, trimming down labor at polling stations, and recouping lost productivity at work. Pollination would work in a linear structure to overcome these inherent shortcomings. First, it would offer real-time aggregation of political and social trends. For example, are gender identity politics becoming a hot-button issue for Canadians? Using Pollination, the government would take a poll and immediately get a sense of public opinion. No delay, little cost, and more representative sample sizes. The app would then distribute the data back to the public. Yes, in fact, gender identity politics are important. After research and education comes action. Hold a referendum through Pollination to find a resolution for a political issue through direct democratic participation. The government should not wait months or years to amend public policy. This application would be able to establish an immediate discourse between populace and government. To quell security concerns, Pollination uses an established identification system, the social insurance number, partnered with conventional authentication used in current voting practices, for example, government-issued ID. The SIN acts as a fraud deterrent as the number is unique. However, the vote cast is not linked to the SIN and is instead delivered anonymously and through encryption. The use of the SIN also has the potential to stimulate growth in data collection. Canadian citizens of any age can obtain a social insurance number with parental permission and can do so autonomously at age 12 and above. This would give the Government of Ontario the ability to collect data on voters and future voters alike. In order to not increase disenfranchisement for those without internet access or techno-literacy skills, pollination would be offered to the public through libraries, schools, and other public institutions. As mobile participation increases, traditional voting methods would decrease, striving for a reduction in expense. To reiterate, pollination would enable more citizens to vote, establish greater connectivity between government and populace, decrease the cost of administering elections, and would have the potential to alter the formality and infrequency of voting in Ontario. Although many of the features of pollination may seem new and therefore underdeveloped, it's important to note that polling, data collection, and alternative methods of voting have all undergone stages of trial and error themselves. Pollination simply involves taking existing systems and combining the best aspects into one format. Apathy and inaction are not innate qualities of the body politic. They're symptoms of a broken system. If a member of the democracy feels unheard or unable to effect change, then the government has failed in its due diligence. If Ontario were to adopt this mobile application as a pilot program, it would have the opportunity to show the rest of Canada the power that comes through embracing technology. With pollination, the power is put quite literally in our hands. Thank you.